Hey everyone, good morning. Let me quickly share my screen and let's see what exactly we are doing today. Okay, while we are waiting for others, I have set up Docker again, guys. So this is a VM which I have created, and on top of this, I got Docker install. If you see, I got this Docker running right now. No container, nothing as of now. It's completely blank Docker which we have launched today. Okay. Now, what exactly we are doing today? So a quick recap from yesterday. We did check how do we run through Docker basic commands, like how do we pull an image, how do we create a container, how do we map a port, how do we map a volume, how do we execute any commands inside the container. This is all what we have seen yesterday. Today, we'll take this further and we'll have our own image created, okay? And we'll deploy our own application basically into Docker container. Which application I'm talking about? So I'm talking about, let's go to the account dev.azure.com. Okay, I'm talking about our .NET application. Remember we had a .NET application initially created. So this is the application, I think Valaxy web app. Okay, yeah, perfect. This is the application which we have deployed on Azure web app. Okay, now it's the same application. I'll be deploying it on Docker containers. Now I'll show you this manual, how exactly an image is created, how exactly an image is pushed to a private repository, how from there how a Docker container gets created and your image gets deployed inside that container. This is all we'll do manual. Later, the task is I'll show you how this thing gets automated with pipeline. I want you guys to go and try that by yourselves. Okay, that will be the task for you also. Why exactly are we doing manual? Because if you don't know the process in the backend, because if I do an automation, hardly it will take 5-6 line of code and things will be automated. That easy it is. Okay, but if you don't know what's happening in the backend, if something fails down the line, if something fails, you'll end up not understanding what's happening. You cannot even debug. So that's why better to stick with and get this done manual. Okay, so what I do, I'll just do a git clone. I'll get the application which is there in Azure repos on my local again, because I don't have it right now. Done. Okay, this is the application. Now imagine if I want to run this application on my local. This is the application, correct? DevOps web app here. Imagine if I want to run this application on my local. What all things I require? The first thing I will need a .NET SDK, correct? That's the package. It's a 3.1 package, correct? It's a 3.1 application. So I will need SDK 3.1, .NET SDK 3.1 on my local first. Second, I need to publish this particular application. Third, then I need to run the DLLs. That is how you will be executing. So let me show you that. I already have, let me open PowerShell, guys. So just an FYI, I already have .NET installed on my local system, so I don't need to install .NET again. And I'll just go to this path where exactly my files are, and I'll have this path. Okay, I'm in the right path right now. If you see this, where I am now in this path, there is a command which I need to run, .NET publish. .NET publish is basically what it will do. It will get you all the dependencies. It will create the public you all the required files like your static, dynamic, everything, all your DLLs inside this publish folder. Okay, so that publish folder becomes a package which you can execute. If you want to run your application locally, you can go and run that particular publish folder itself. Now let's see what happens. So .NET publish is the command. This command will only work if you have .NET installed on your local system, guys. If you don't have .NET installed, this command will fail. Just keep that in mind, okay? I'm just executing this, and you have to be inside the application to run this command. So if you see where exactly I am, I'm inside the application, because this command will go and read this file. DevOps web apps.cs proj. This is the file which this command will be reading. Okay, let's wait. So these are all manual steps if you want to run a .NET application on your local system. Why exactly I'm showing you all this? Because later when we write a Docker file is nothing but a set of instructions which you write inside the file. These are the instructions which you need to give inside the file. That's it, nothing else. What's happening? Okay, see what exactly it did. It is restoring your proj file. That's why I said you need to be inside this file so that this file is accessible, and it will create a publish folder, and it will get you all the required files inside that publish folder so that your application can run from wherever you want. It's taking a good amount of time this time. See, the publish folder is created. I'm just waiting for the output that's successfully created. If you see this is the publish folder which I was looking for. It was not there previously. Now all your web.config files, your if you go in this www, you have your CSS file, your Java, your JS file, your static, your dynamic, all those files are there inside this publish folder. So basically this publish folder has your complete application. I'm just waiting for this guy to over. Done. Now if you see this has created a publish folder. Perfect. Now if you want to run this application, so you have to go inside the publish folder. This publish folder is where exactly it is. It is somewhere over here. Done. So you need to go and run this DLL. This DLL. In order to run this DLL, you need to run the command .NET DLL. .NET DevOps web apps. I just getting stuck today. Okay, so .NET followed by your application name. This is the name .dll. This will go and execute your application locally. The point is, why did we do all this? Now it's taking time. I don't know. The system is slow today, but this will go and run your application locally. If you want to run this application locally, see, it listens on port 5000, guys. So I'll just copy this part, open a browser. Let's go over here. You will have your .NET application over here. Now the point is, why did we run the application locally? The reason I have showed you all these local steps, because when you write a Docker file is nothing but it has set of instructions in it. Whatever we did locally, like I'm just canceling this now. Okay, I don't want this to run. Whatever we did locally, the same thing needs to be done inside a container. Now, how exactly that is done? That is done using an image. And how the image is created? That image is created using a Docker file. What is Docker file? The Docker file is nothing but it contains set of instructions. Okay. Now that is what we need to come and write a Docker file. Now Docker file is basically divided into two segments: instruction and argument. On the left hand side, you will find all the instructions. On the left hand side, you will find all the instruction. Like the first instruction is you need to have the SDK file. So from, and the instruction will always be in caps. The instruction will always be in caps, no lowercase, guys. In the left hand side, the things which you see, that will always be in caps. From the first thing, what you need a SDK, correct? The image, .NET image. So I'm not writing an actual I'm just giving an example over here. So your first is you need to have a .NET image over here. I'll show you which image you need to go. 3.1. Second, we can, because this needs to be created inside a container, correct? So we need to have some sort of directory created inside a container. Okay, because I need to copy this publish folder inside the container. This publish folder which you have over here, which has all these files, I need to have this files copied. I need to have this files copied inside a directory. So I need to have some sort of directory created. Okay, so the second task is I need to have work directory. Again in caps, I can give any name. For example, I'm creating a directory with app. Now the third is from my local. Like from my local, I need to copy the files inside this. This is where this is on the container. So I'll have a something called copy task. Dot. First dot means you're copying it from your local present working directory to container present working directory. So from your local to this location. This is what this dot means, guys. Okay. Now what exactly these are instructions which I'm giving inside my Docker file, and based on this instruction, an image will be created, and that image will be nothing but that will be a application, your .NET application. It will be okay. Now my if you've seen, my application listens on port 5000. So that environment we need to set up, that people should know that my application will be listening on port 5000. So ASP.NET Core, I need to set up a URL, HTTP. Now this if you want to change, so it listens on local host. Can I give something like this star? Yep, why not? 5000. Now what are we doing? We are setting up an environment variable that my application listens on port 5000. Okay, then we can go and expose for port 5000 on the container. We'll be exposing port 5000. Last but not the least, there is something called entry point. Entry point in which I'll go and run the .NET command which we have executed just now. This is the command which we executed, correct? This is the command I want to execute when my container starts up. So this is how I can give it as a list .NET comma and then followed by the .d whatever DLL file it is. What is the DLL file? That needs to be given over here. That's it. These are the instructions which will go inside your container. Now this entry point is basically what, guys? Okay, let me go back to my. So there are two things. One is the command. The second is the entry point. Now what is a command? Let me give you an example. Let me launch a container Ubuntu. What container I'm launching? Ubuntu. See, I don't have the image, so it went ahead and fetched the image and it created the container. If you see, the container is created. Now if I just go and do a Docker PS, oh, I don't see that container. Why? Then if I do a Docker PS -a, I don't see, I see there was a container, but it got exited automatically. Why? Why this container got terminated automatically without doing anything? Anyone? Anyone has any idea why this container got terminated? How many? How many of you have? 6 people. No idea, guys, why this container got terminated? Now this container got terminated because of this command. Okay. So by default, the nature of a container is if there is no process running inside the container. Again, repeating myself. If there is no process running inside a container, the container will get terminated automatically. The container life cycle is only till the process which is running inside the container. So now this is just a Ubuntu machine, guys. In this Ubuntu machine, I have not executed any process. There's no command which is getting executed. This is just a shell. If you see this, this is just a shell. It's doing nothing right now. That is the whole reason why this Ubuntu machine has nothing to do. It came up for few seconds. There was no process, nothing to do for this machine. It went down automatically. That is the default nature of a container. Keep that in mind. Now, if I want anything, any sort of commands to run inside the container while it is coming up, then I need to mention something like this, like the same command. No, we cannot keep the image idle. Now the same command, the only difference is I'll go and execute something inside the container now. Now that command I'll mention over here, like sleep 120. Now this is basically this container will be up for at least 120 seconds now. Now what exactly I'm doing, this is I'm passing a command. When this container will come up, this command will get executed because there is a process now. When I'm passing a command, there's a process which will get executed inside the container. Now, at least for 120 seconds, you can be rest assured that your container will not terminate. Similarly, this is known as command, guys. This is what is known as command, the command which you are executing. Okay, makes sense? So this is what command is all about. See, this is command. Now, if you go and look into your, see, it is up, your container is up. Do you see this? What command it is executing? Sleep 120 seconds. After 120 seconds, this will go down automatically. This is what is the default nature of command. Okay, I'll answer those questions later, Prashant. Let's focus on this part first. Okay, understood, guys, everything about command? Anyone has any doubt what exactly this command is? Command is basically the things which you want to run when the container is up. Okay, the things which you want to run when the container is up, that is the time when this command gets executed. Now similarly, the entry point which I have mentioned over here, now this is very similar to command, but it has a different advantage. This will get executed, this particular line will get executed when your container is booting. Along with your container, this particular line, once the container booted successfully, this line will get executed automatically. This is what we want, correct? If this line will not get executed, you'll not be able to run your application. That's what I showed you on my local machine, correct? So yeah, questions?
Yeah, so sorry, good evening. So basically, but you put the DLL in there. So why did it come up with the bash and not just run like when you launched the website? I didn't understand that.
Bash, this bash,
Yeah.
this is a Ubuntu image. We didn't
Oh,
put any DLLs over here yet.
oh,
We'll
okay,
put the
that's a
DLL
different
later.
image. Okay,
Yeah,
so
it's a one-to image.
okay, I get it. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, no problem. Again, repeating, guys, command, it is used to execute a command in a running container. Whenever you have a running container, you want to execute something, then you need to make use of commands. Entry point, this is basically, we can specify the command and it will get executed when the Docker container starts. Two different, command and entry point. Entry point and command, these are two things which you will come across a lot. You can see this in Docker file. This part, this guy is when the container is up, and if you want to execute something inside the container, then you will be making use of command. And this guy will, when the container is starting up, at that time, if you want to execute something, then you will make use of entry points. Okay, are we good? Okay, there are a couple of questions from Prashant. Let's see that. We can't keep image idle. I didn't got this question. What does that mean, image idle? And can you please differentiate container image? Image is set of instructions. It's a set. These are the instructions which you're giving. Based on these instructions, your image will be created. Container is nothing but it's where your image, container is executable, guys, where your image is running, your application is running inside the container. The container is considered as a compute engine which has its own CPU, which has its own memory. Just imagine container as a VM. The only difference is VM has more configuration, container will have less configuration. Okay, a container uses Docker engine to get executed. So container is nothing but it's the smallest unit which will run your application. Smallest unit on your VM which will run your application. An image contains all the set of instruction what needs to be done when we are deploying your application. Make sense, Prashant?
Yes. So for the first question means, as you saw, means we
Mm-hmm.
if we can't do anything on an image, then
Mm-hmm.
the images got exited. That I am
Mm-hmm.
asking.
Yeah, no, that's not about the image container. Okay, so image is there. The image is not exited. If you see, if you go and see your images, you will find your Ubuntu images. Okay, so image is not getting exited. The image, using this image, you're creating a container. Now, container has nothing to do. Basically, the nature of container is you need to have some sort of process running inside the container, like whether you're running Apache, MySQL DB, you need to have some sort of process running inside the container. If the process is not running, the container lifecycle is done, it will exit out. So in Ubuntu, there was nothing. It was just assigning a shell. Nothing was happening. Now, what did I do? I went ahead and added a command sleep 120. So now I have given some sort of process to this container to execute. So that container is executing sleep 120 command now. So at least for 120 seconds, it will wait, then it will exit out. So yeah, that is the nature how Docker works.
So if we want to access application certain time, after a certain time, and so the application remain ideal in that container. So if we not use for certain time, then we can't access the application, means it's exited then.
No, if you have an application inside the application will run some sort of process itself, correct? The .NET publish the command which I'm running. That means your application is running inside the container. If you stop the application, then your container will exit out. Now this command which you're executing at the end of the day, this command, this is what it is doing. It is running the .NET application inside the container. That's why we are running this, correct? Now that is what I showed you over here. When I ran the command .NET with the DLL, there was a process started on the local host 5000. So till the time this process is running for me, I have no issue. My container will be up. If this process gets stopped, then your container will exit out. Now, if something like this happens, you need to go and debug why the process has stopped. The process should not get stopped. Then it becomes a debugging challenge for you. Then you have to go and inspect the container. You need to go and see the application logs. You need to see where it is getting blocked, why this process did stop, and all this R&D you need to start doing, debugging you need to start doing. Till the time you don't go and touch it, there's no failure. This process will not stop. Basically, this will keep on running till the time there's no external issue or something internal issue to your application. Make sense?
Yeah, thanks.
No problem, guys. So let's go and put this all into your Docker server and let's create an image. Now I already have this. This is not the right Docker file, guys. This is just for explanation. I have shown you. I already have an image created, not image. I have a Docker file. This is how the Docker file looks like in reality. Let me put this DLL, the right DLL name over here. See this is what I need. This is my .NET SDK 3.1. This is the image which I need to build my .NET application. Creating a work directory, copying the files, setting up environment variables, exposing port 5000, running this entry points. Okay, makes sense. Now what I need, this publish folder which I have created, this publish folder, this I need to copy on my Docker server. How do I copy from my Windows machine to my Docker that is on Linux? So I got a tool called WinSCP. This is an open free source tool, guys. You can go and on Google and just look for WinSCP for Windows. If you're on Linux, there's no you can use SCP. But if you're on Windows, then WinSCP for Windows, and go to the official website and download. It's a exe file. Just do next, and WinSCP will get installed. Okay, this is a tool for securely copying your files from your local Windows machine to Linux machine. This you'll be using a lot in companies, because in companies mostly you'll be using you will get a Windows machine and your servers will be on Linux. So this tool, WinSCP, FileZilla, all these are tools which will help you copy files from one local system to other Linux machine. Okay, keep that in mind. I'll connect to this tool using my, where is the portal went? So why do I need, why exactly I'm using WinSCP? Because I need to copy the publish folder which we have created, because that publish folder has everything. Okay, so I'll just put this IP DevOps mailer. It's okay. Port 22 is okay. Save it. Login. It will prompt me for a password. Let me put in the password. Done. If you see at the left hand side, this is my desktop where my publish folder is. On the right hand side, this is my home drive, home DevOps mailer, where my files will be kept. Okay. Now I need this Docker file also to be added inside the publish folder. So let me do one thing. Let me copy this Docker file from the original source and put it over here in the publish folder itself. Okay. Now let me copy this entire folder. So the folder will be somewhere in application, bin, debug, netcore, and this is a folder. Just drag and drop. Now this folder is getting copied on my Linux server. Where exactly it is getting copied, guys? On my Linux server. Perfect. Let's wait while it is getting copied. Now this is all I'm doing manual, guys, right now. Later I'll show you the steps to automate this entire process using CI/CD pipeline. That is something I want you guys to try it by yourself. I'll show you how exactly it will be done. Okay, but that is something I want you guys to try it. Okay, Now, why exactly I'm showing manual? Because you should know what exactly happens, what all things happens in the backend, how this image get created, how this container is running that application, and all this I'm just doing manual just because I want to give you a glimpse how exactly things happens in real world. Okay. Now, if I go back to my server, let me exit out of this root. Do you see this published folder? Okay, go inside the published folder. You have all the files and you have your Docker file. Now, how do you create an image? How do you build an image basically? So the command is, I'll have to use sudo over here because my Docker was set up as a root user, so I cannot run Docker only. So I have to use sudo docker. Okay. The command I need to run is build -t is for tagging. What is the name you want to give to your image? So let's give it as name as .NET app. Okay, name it as .NET app. Dot means where your Docker file is kept. So my Docker file is right in the same directory, so that's why I'm using dot. If I have this Docker file in somewhere else, so I have to give the absolute path, the complete path. Okay, but for now I have everything inside the same directory. So Docker build for building your image, -t is the tag which I'm giving to my image, and dot. See, the image is getting built. We are creating our own image right now, guys. That image will contain my application. This .NET application, what it will create, it will contain. Making sense? Anyone? Any doubt? Any confusion? This is a custom image. Yesterday we were using Nginx. That was not custom image. That is something, a public image, which we were using, someone else has created, and we were using that image. Done. I have my image. Let's go and quickly check images. Permission denied. This is because I am not logged in as root. Do you see this .NET image? How big your image size is? 719 MB. This big your image is, guys. And just for your knowledge, see the size of Ubuntu, 77.8 MB. This lightweight images are. That's why Docker is so widely used. See the size of Docker, Ubuntu, 77.8. Imagine if you want to set up a Ubuntu on your laptop, it is somewhere around 1.8 GB. The official, if you go and get the official image, I have it on my laptop, and see how lightweight it is, how customizable it is. 77.8. That's why this using this images, we can run things on Raspberry Pi, the smallest device what we have, Raspberry Pi and things like that. We can run all this. Okay, the flexibility we have. Okay, so coming forward, this is my application which we have just created 15 seconds ago, and I got the image created. Now if I want to run this application, I can run it inside a container. How do I run it? Sudo docker run. I want to run it in detach mode. Remember, my image listens on port 5000, so I need to expose 5000 on container, and plus I want to access this application on port 5000 itself. Okay, let me go and expose 5000 first. If I want 5000, let's go onto the VM, add port 5000 because my application listens on port 5000. .NET app. Okay, what's the question? Why do you have to run the docker command as sudo? This is because I'm not logged in as a sudo user. Okay, and my docker was set up as a sudo user. When initially I set up this docker, I've set this up as a root user. Now I'm not logged in as a root user, I'm logged in as a normal user. Okay, so I need to give this normal user a sudo privilege for executing docker. That's why running sudo. Okay, now this I am running 5000, exposing 5000 so that I can access this application from outside world, and this 5000 is getting exposed on my container. Okay, and now followed by my image name. What is the image name I've given? .NET app, correct? This is my image. Perfect. Again, this sudo thing. Do you see this command which is getting executed inside my .NET followed by the DLL? This is what entry point means, guys. Now where this application is accessible, see this. Now let's go and see if my application is accessible from outside world. I can use the public IP over here. Where is the public IP? I can go over here. HTTP 5000. Where your things are running? It's running inside a container. You have successfully deployed a custom .NET application inside a container. Your container, this container is running your application. This container is running your application. This is how you create your own image. You run your own container with your custom application. Understood how this custom application image thing works? And this thing goes for everything, guys. Like if tomorrow, if you want to have a .NET, this was an example of .NET. Imagine you have Java. Now the only thing will change the instruction in your Docker file. Now for Java, you will definitely not use SDK. You will require Java Maven. Correct? Now for executing Java application, you will have all those steps inside your Docker file. Then based on that steps, you will create an image. Then once the image is created, you can go and deploy your application on container. Making sense? This is how you will be doing everything. Okay. Now, this is one, you have done this successfully. Now, in later session, well, like when I start with Kubernetes, I want this application to be deployed in Kubernetes pods also later. Now, that is something I'll not do it today, but later. For doing that, I need this image, basically. This image which we have. This image which we have created, this image, I know this is my custom application image. I want this image somewhere on a remote repository. A remote repository, I'm not talking about GitHub, GitLab and all. Yes, I'm talking about Docker Hub. I'm talking about ACR and all this. So I want this image to be kept somewhere so that later when we start with Kubernetes, I want to deploy this application on Kubernetes as a pod. Now, how do I do it? So Docker Hub will not use it, guys, because Docker Hub, because we are covering Azure, so we'll use Azure ACR. That's Azure Container Registry. Okay. Now, what exactly is ACR? Let's go and see it. Okay, just look for container registry. Container registry. So container registry is basically a private repository registry, guys, wherein you can have your custom image stored. You can, and this ACR can be easily replicated. It can be easily integrated with your build, with all your services, with all maximum services in your cloud. So that is the benefit of using ACR. Okay, so it can help you build, store, secure, scan, replicate and manage container images and artifact with fully managed geo-replicated instance. So this is plus it can connect across Azure Kubernetes services, Azure Red Hat, OpenShift, across Azure services like app services, machine learning and batch. So these are the importance of if you are using ACR. Okay, so with ACR you will have your image inside Azure cloud and it will be It will be a private registry, so no one from public can access your image. That's a security benefit you're getting. Second benefit, if you have your image into ACR, it can easily be integrated with many services in Azure, such as Azure Kubernetes Service, Azure Container Service, Azure Web App, and OpenShift, many more. Okay, it can be easily integrated with many services inside your Azure itself. Plus, it comes with a service level agreement with Azure that your image will be up and running 99.99% of time. So all these benefits you get it if you're using ACR. You can even put things in Docker image. I'm not denying a Docker Hub, but integration part becomes difficult at that point of time because it's a third-party application. Docker Hub is a third-party application. You need to have n number of authentication authorization needs to be done if you want to fetch image from Docker Hub, from Docker Private Hub, not from Docker Public, from Docker Private Hub. But yeah, if you ask me the question, can we do it? The answer is yes. We can still put an image in Docker Hub and we can fetch the image from Docker Hub also. There's no problem at all. Okay, but because we are learning Azure, we'll stick with ACR. Okay, so ACR is what? It's a private registry, guys, wherein I will be putting this image, this image which we have it over here, which is on the server. If I delete this server, this image will be gone. Okay, so I want this kept somewhere so that later if I want to use this image for deploying into an AKS or OpenShift or somewhere wherever I can deploy my microservice application. This is a microservice application. Okay, well, let's go and create a ACR. I'll not use the same resource group. Let me create a different resource group because I'll be deleting this resource group today. DevOps Valaxy RG. Okay. Give a registry name. The name should be unique. I name it as DevOps Mela. The name should be unique, guys. If the name is not unique, this will not take it. So this took my name, devopsmela.azure.ca. Something like this. So make sure keep all in small case, guys. DevOps CR container registry. That means keep it all in lowercase. Don't keep anything in uppercase. SKU, there are basic, standard, premium. I'll stick with basic. That will cost me less. And I'll just review and create this ACR. Why exactly are we creating ACR? Anyone? Guys, why are we creating ACR?
To store your container in no?
To container,
Yeah,
not container, image.
image.
This is for, yep. So it's keeping your image securely into a location. Let's just imagine a source code. Okay, a developer is writing a source code. You keep the source code in where? In a Git repository. Why do you keep it? So that it can be easily shared across others. It can be easily be collaborated. You can access that source code from anywhere in the world. That is the whole point of doing it, correct? Same goes with this ACR. You have a cloud location wherein you're keeping your image because your image is there on this server right now. This server I may delete it later. Your image will also be gone, and then I have to repeat my entire thing again, create a publish folder, copy the publish folder, write a Docker file, build a Docker file. There are a good amount of things I need to do it again, correct? So it's better because I want to use this image later. I want to use this image for deploying things in Kubernetes. Why exactly I'm deploying? Just to give you a glimpse how exactly this microservice world works. This is all these images are, because of these images, you can deploy things in container, in pods, in OpenShift, wherever you want. Okay, the whole point is you need to have this image created. Okay, now come back. You have your ACR. Okay, this is your ACR basic. Stick with basic, guys. If you go in standard and premium, that will cost you more. So stick with basic. Now, if you see this repositories over here, this is where your image will come in. As if now there's nothing. Okay. Now, the next challenge. How do I connect to my ACR from this window? This is a server, correct? I'm on a server right now. I'm on a server right now. And I need to go and connect from this server to my ACR so that I can push my image to the ACR. Very good question. Now for doing that, we need to have some sort of authentication and authorization method. Correct? How do we do it? For authentication, the best way is, can we use CLI, Azure CLI? That is what we were doing till now, correct? Yes, CLI is the way out. We need to go and set up CLI. I'll have the command over here, I believe. CLI setup command. In my even in my Ansible session, I have shared the CLI setup command. You can use that also. You can use this also. It's up to you. There are multiple ways you can set up CLI. So what I am doing right now, I'm setting up CLI. Okay. Why exactly I'm doing setup CLI? So that I can get authenticated to my Azure cloud services. Because once I'm authenticated, then only I can log into my ACR and I can push this image which is there on my local system. Make sense? Let's wait while the CLI is getting installed. Okay, perfect. Let's do a easy login quickly. Done. Where is the code? This is the code. Let's put in the code. Okay, let's select the account where my ACR is. Come back. I'm yet to receive the output. Yes, logged in successfully. Okay, now I'm logged into ACR. I'm logged into my cloud. But I need to log into this also, ACR. So the command is AZ ACR login followed by the name of your registry. What is the name? We go to all resources. Where is the registry? This is the registry. The name is DevOps Mela CR. Okay, this is the name I want. Okay, okay, perfect. This is sudo. Always use sudo, guys, if you're there on the local. Unable to get admin credentials. Cancel this. Let me do the AZ login again using sudo. easy login again using sudo. Done. Perfect. Now let's do this now. See, this time I'm not getting any error. Okay. So previously the easy login was not done using sudo. That's why I was getting those errors. Okay. Now I did this. This looks good now. Now I'm logged into ACR. That's Azure Container Registry from my server. Now I can do all this push pull, registry push pull. Okay. So the first thing you need to do is you need to tag this image, the private image, okay, with your registry name. You need to tag this image with your registry name. How exactly that is done? Sudo docker tag. What is the name of your application? .NET app image, and you need to tag it with the registry name. What is your registry URL? Basically, this I want. Login server details / now this name, whatever name you will give it over here, that name, with that name the image will be created inside your repository. Okay, so I'll give the same name. I'll stick with same name .NET app. This you can give whatever name you want. This is totally up to you. Whatever name you give it over here, this section, the same name will be visible in your registry. Okay, so I'll name it as .NET app. Done. Now if you go and run the command docker images, you will find out you'll find out that you have one more image created. It's of the same size. Now if you see this, the image ID is exactly the same. So it's nothing but it's a replica copy got created. This additional replica copy which we have created with this tagging. Why did we create this replica copy? Now this replica copy will be pushed. Docker push. The same in Git. How do you do push? Once you're done with your commit, what do? You do a push so that your image gets pushed into your code, gets pushed into your remote repository. Same thing. After tagging, you push your repository into ACR. See this getting pushed. What we're doing, we're pushing the custom image which we have created till now into a remote registry. That's ACR. See this. Now any one of you, if I give you the access of my registry, any one of you can also access my image, guys. The only thing ACR, you just run the command docker pull, log into ACR and do a docker pull. You will be able to log into my, you can get my image and you can deploy this image into your container. See this. Done. Come back to repositories. Do you see this .NET app now? You have the image now. You have the latest image right now. Now using this image, you want to create a webhook, you want to run an instance, you want to deploy it in a web application. All the options are available now. Within using this image, you can do whatever you want. Okay. So this is, and this ACR steps, whatever I have run, I think it's there over here. Just follow the same steps, starting from local, running .NET publish, installing Docker, your Docker file, all the commands, setting CLI, then the login. This is all there in the documentation. I'll share the documentation, don't worry. Okay, this is how a custom. Now we have this on my ACR. Now I'll keep it. I'll not delete this image today because tomorrow when we'll start with Kubernetes, Then mostly if time permits, then I'll show you how the application is deployed into Kubernetes. But okay, that is how things will be done. Now, this entire thing, whichever or whatever we did, that was done manual. Now I want you guys to use Azure DevOps and get this, the way I've created the image using all these commands. I want you to automate this entire thing using Azure DevOps. Now I'll show you a demonstration how exactly things will be done. Make sure once you're done with the manual, make sure you try this at least. If you don't do it, then it's completely waste, because later you'll be automating this, you'll not be doing things manually. Now the only part I don't want you to deploy, because I don't want you to go and set up a container and things like that. But the only half of the part I want you to do, get this image created and get this image pushed into ACR using Azure DevOps. How exactly this will be done? The first thing, you need to have a service connection created. You need to set up ACR. You need to create ACR beforehand. Make sure the ACR is created beforehand. Second, come to this service connection. Look for Docker. Do you look for Docker registry? Go for next. Do you see there are registry type? Docker Hub, uh, Docker Hub, others, and Azure registry. Now select the authentication type as service principal. Select this as a subscription. Now it will give you a login page. Again, I have to close the login page. Log into it. If you have the ACR already in, then it will automatically have the service connection created. That's it. Save it. Grant permission to all the pipelines. Save it. Once this is done, I'm not doing it. This is hardly, it will take 10 minutes, guys. Okay. But I want you guys to try it. That's why I'm not doing it. Once you have the service connection created, come to your build pipeline. Have a new pipeline created. Have this as a Azure YAML based. Select your application where your application is, and make sure this Docker file is copied. Now this is my application. I don't have a Docker file over here right now, but make sure in your repository you have the Docker file also. Okay, because without Docker file nothing will happen. And once it is done, it will automatically give you option. Let's have a starter pipeline over here. Okay, let me remove this, all this. You make sure you have a Docker file, guys. Okay, and that is the requirement. Come over here, look for Docker command. Do you see this Docker build and push? Select your registry. If you have the service connection, you'll have the registry also over here, and you will have your give a container repository name. What is the name? Give that name. That's .NET app. That is the repository name we have given, correct? So whatever repository you want to create, give that name. Even though it is not created in your ACR, that's totally fine. Give that name over here. Select the command build and push. Keep this as it is. If you have your Docker file in your repository, keep this as it is. It will automatically go and read it. That's it. Just add it. Add all the steps. You're done. Save it, run it. What will happen? It will automatically build your application, and it will publish your application, and later it will create an image and publish your image over here. That easy it is. That's why I've not showed you the automated way at the first, because if I do the automation first, you'll not understand anything. That's why I did everything manual, just to give you a glimpse what exactly happens in the backend. Now you can automate this by yourself. Let me know if there's any difficulty. This is a task for you guys. Okay, this is just for image creation. Later I'll show you the image which you have created. How do we deploy that image using pipelines? That is something I'll show you later. For now, this is a takeaway task for you guys. Make sure practice this. Okay. Okay, that's it for me. From Docker also. We'll meet up tomorrow and we'll start with Kubernetes. Anyone, any doubt, any questions, please do let me know. We got ample of time left today. so we can spend those time understanding if there's any issue or if there's any concern with you guys. No doubt, guys.
Quick
Hopefully
question.
you guys are
Sorry.
yep.
So you have
No,
was on the VM, everything was, you had to use sudo in front of everything. How can we avoid that? To like, so we don't have to do sudo docker, sudo
yeah,
az login. How can we avoid that?
always if you want to avoid, so this is always a best practice to use sudo firstly, because in reality you'll not be going logging as a root user and doing things. That is um, not recommended, and that's not even secure. Okay, you all only the administrators, the Linux administrator, for doing administrative tasks, they should log in as a sudo. You and me, like DevOps engineers, if you want to have root privileges, then you should use always stick with sudo. Sudo is like when you use sudo, what it is giving, it is telling the kernel that give him the root privilege temporarily. So that's a temporary root privilege which you're taking. Okay, so that is from the security perspective, that is the right thing to do. But yeah, answering to your question, if you want to avoid such things, you need to go and log in as sudo yourself. Log in as sudo. Now run all the command without sudo. All your docker command, now see this, my docker command will run without sudo because I am inside, I am logged in as a root user right now. Make sense? But this is not recommended. Never do such things. Always stick with your local ID, and whenever you want sudo privileges, at that time go and use sudo. That is the recommendation. No questions, guys? Okay, see this, my application is running from last 27 minutes because there is a process running inside the container. If I stop, then it will exit out. This is how container works. Okay, that's it for me then. Thank you very much. Let's meet up tomorrow and let's continue with Kubernetes. Bye bye.